Hi, this is the voice of Heidie Calero with a continuation of last week's the voice of Heidie Calero with the topic of population. It is a critical factor, and today we are continuing with this same theme, this time looking longer at the different population census since 1950. The first map that I'm depicting for you depicts what happened in terms of population 1950 compared to the latest census of population in 2020. So overall, whatever is in that diagonal that you see there, that pattern depicts positive growth from 1950 through 2020. Those municipalities that depicted negative growth, such as San Juan, such as Loíza, those that are in white letters, even the center of the island, where the string of mountains is, you see negative growth. So in 1950 they had more population than in 2020. So it's interesting what is happening in terms of these demographic trends. What does all this mean? Let's look then at the second map, where we are depicting 4 decades of economic growth. And this time we're going to go gradual. 1980 population compared to 2020. Those are the diagonal gray patterns that you see there in the map. For instance, what you see in Loíza, in the northern part of the island, you see Vega Baja, you see Arecibo, you see Aguadilla, but you also see it in the center, in Jayuya, in Ciales, and you also see it in the sort of the southeastern part of the island as well, in Luquillo, in Fajardo, and even Cayena y Bonito. So those municipalities depict that 1980 compared to 2020, population grew. In 1990, 2020, you see the diagonals in red, and again you see many more municipalities, but now less of those diagonal ones that we saw with growth of 1980 and 2020. Now we are seeing less counties, less municipalities that are again in some pockets, be it in the western part of the island, the northwestern part of the island, as well as in the northern part, the center, or even in the east coast. And if we move forward in terms of 2000 census compared with population in 2020, those are the blue municipalities that you see there. That population was higher in 2020 than in 2000. And those are just spare. They are about 8 of these municipalities, going some in the eastern part of the island, and very few in this western part of the island, with the exception maybe of Cabo Rojo and Rincon, which are in the blue segment as you see there and in this map. So, and a lot of white as well. Negative growth from 2000 through 2020. You see either in the middle of the island, Utuado, Adjuntas, even a large municipality like Ponce, or even Coamo, Salinas, all that southern eastern part of the island, it's practically all white. That means that there is negative growth. Now, we are trying to find out what are some of the ramifications, why this is occurring. We know Puerto Rico is living now with fertility rates that are below replacement rates, and Puerto Rico is not alone. You have it in China, you have it in Japan, you have it in Europe. We are an aging population as we speak. That's about 23 to 25% of our population in 2021 is 65 years and older, and continues to grow older. And that has implications in terms of that falling population. Well, positive ones: reduced pressure on scarce resources, also a decline in environmental damage. But it also has negative economic disruptions, such as the scarcity of care workers. We have problems with sustainability of the government debt, which Puerto Rico is now restructuring, and which we now are trying to pull out of bankruptcy by paying this new service of the debt. Well, who's going to pay for it? If you have more aging population and less in the labor force, that will really spell trouble. The reduction in human creativity, less people, especially in education, in that educational age, academic age. Well, we need to really focus on education if we want that creativity to be sustained for the next years throughout the 21st century. I mean, notice here a correlation. True, there are only 7 observations, but nonetheless, or 8 observations, with those municipalities that depicted population growth from 2000 through 2020. Well, we notice that the unemployment rate also runs in a negative trend with respect to population growth, which means all these negative correlations from 1990 through 2020 for these 8 municipalities: Dorado, Toalta, Juncos, Las Piedras, Barranquita, Barceloneta, Rincón, Cabo Rojo, sort of a survey or a sample of Puerto Rico's counties. They are negative. So if the unemployment rate rises, what happens to the population? It goes down. So higher unemployment, lower population. Why? Because people will migrate to better opportunities, to better job opportunities, either within another county or outside Puerto Rico. And last but not least, we have this last map, which is the impact of salaries. And we took those 8 municipalities and we looked at those which had the highest salaries, which of course is related to the industrial composition of economic activity. Where there is more manufacturing, especially for pharmaceuticals, they have higher wages. But if we have higher services and professional services, maybe there might be higher. But even if you have higher education, in other municipalities, there is a subutilization of those resources. And we noticed that in those green counties, 12 counties that had $30,000 and plus in salary, in those with the blue dot, those are 4 or half of the 8 counties that we depicted before that had consistent growth in terms of 2000 through 2020. So it's interesting that there is that relationship between unemployment, between salary, the labor force, the aging of the population, and the need. Wake up, economic policies that have to be undertaken by our government officials, because all this is a critical factor going forward in the next few years. It's really our living standards for the next 10 to 20 years, unless we focus on our more scarce or more abundant resource, which is people, even if it's growing less now. Because if I depict for you the map from 2010 census through 2020, it's all white, no growth, it's all negative growth. So the population is going down and it's aging at the same time. If you like our economic capsules, don't forget to subscribe to The Voice of Heidie.